Good evening and welcome to The Square. Tonight's discussion is going to focus on road safety with a specific focus on the recent crackdown by Rwanda National Police on drunk driving. We'll also have a look at how businesses have been affected by this. And joining the show with us, we have guests from the Rwanda National Police as well as the Rwanda Hospitality Association. My name is Diana Mpisi, host of The Square, and I'll start by introducing our guests. With us, we have CP John Bosco Kabeda, who is the spokesperson of the Rwanda National Police. Great to have you for the second time on The Square.
Thank you.
We are also joined by, on my immediate right, by Sarah Chirenga, who is the second vice chair of the Rwanda Hospitality Association. Thank you very much for joining us, Sarah.
Thank you so much.
As well, I welcome back our resident panelist, Charles Haber. He's part of the resident panelists of The Square. Charles, great to have you.
Nice here, Dan. I missed the show.
You missed it last week. I'm glad you're here.
Yes.
Our other resident panelist, Brian Anamata, is not around, but she'll be watching from wherever she is. As we usually do before we kick off, we're just going to have a brief midweek highlight. And Charles, I'll start with you. Based on your travels, I'm sure there's some things you'd like to share with us.
Dan. I'm sure this will be music to Afande Kawera as well. One of the things we take for granted well, as Rwandese and when we live in Rwanda. I traveled to Congo, Brazzaville, and neighboring and the other city, Point Noir. Now, it's very common that some of our countries ask for yellow fever cards. It's very common that you'll also be asked for your ticket. But in the world today, if you have everything on soft copy, you will show and they will accept it. I had to pay $30 on arrival in Congo, Brazzaville, because they could not believe that the invitation I had was real. And in addition to that, that the yellow fever that had my names and date of birth on my phone was the same one. But that was not enough. On my way out, I think I had some balance in my pocket of CFA, and that's their local currency. And they told me that the only person who is allowed to travel with CFAs is Congolese, and they have a maximum of 100,000. So, and they told me with no shame, and this is fully nicely dressed policemen like Afande Kawera here, and they tell you that you have to behave as an African or you will not go past this point. So, you know, you would try as much as possible to say, I have not, there's nowhere it is written that I'm not allowed to travel with currency. It was even less than $100 equivalent. It's not it's while you're applying for visa at the embassy here, they don't tell you about certain things. And I just, it's amazing that some small things that we take for granted here in Rwanda can make or break you elsewhere in our other African countries. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Whenever I travel, I always come back home and realize, there's a lot I think we take for granted.
Yes.
And I think part of the conversation tonight is to see if we're actually taking this particular topic for granted based on the social media and the feedback that we've been getting. So tonight's topic is very interesting. It comes at a very important time. A lot of people are trying to understand this recent drunk driving crackdown, which has very stringent measures to offenders. So I'll kick off the conversation before I come to you, Sarah, who you're here representing the Rwanda Hospitality Association. But CP Kabera, I will start with you. So if you'll allow me to just read a couple of numbers. Around 1,170 drunk drivers have been arrested between January and August of this year for driving under the influence. So I have a few questions in mind before I open up to Charles to ask the rest and to Berna. One, what is the alcohol limit? And what is the process for detaining offenders, and what is the fine? You heard that people are detained for a minimum of 5 days. And why now? What has, influenced this crackdown? Because people think compared to 2018, why the sudden, the intensity of really cracking down on drunk drivers? So please, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Diana. I think before we go into details, let me first give you a perspective with the global road safety. Road safety and traffic accidents are not concerned for Rwanda. It is an international issue. It's a global concern. It's a global problem. 2018 World Health Organization report indicated that 1.35 million people die each year as a result of road traffic accidents. 54% of those are pedestrians, cyclists, and motorcyclists. And it is the 8th leading cause of death in the world compared to other infectious diseases. And the most affected people are children between 5 and 14 years.
When you say
the leading cause across the world. And young adults between 15 and 29 years. You can see it is a very big threat. So low-income countries have got 1% of vehicles in the world, and they lead up to 13% of accidents and deaths and related deaths. High-income countries have got 40%, and they lead up to 70% of deaths. So we shall ask ourselves, possibly in this show, is it because of a lot of vehicles? Is it because of a few vehicles in income developing countries? What is it? Is it because of behavior? Is it because of awareness? I think you have to interrogate this. And that is the reason why you can see some of these discussions across all platforms, across all media, social media, print, online. Drunk driving is one of the leading causes of crashes. And in the developed world, 20% of drivers who are involved in crashes have tested alcohol. And in low-income countries, 69% of drivers involved in crashes have tested alcohol. So why is this? You can see, this is the problem of awareness. Is it because of other issues? Is it because maybe people are not allowed to drink? Is it because the police in other countries conduct quite stringent operations and large-scale operations? Now, we have to look into those details. So in Rwanda, what is the situation? Road traffic accidents are the 10th leading cause of deaths in Rwanda. Every year, more than 500 people lose their lives due to road traffic accidents. Nearly to 3,000 have got serious injuries, very serious. And around 20 billion francs are spent by insurance companies as a compensation in these accidents. This year, if you compare the number of accidents we have this year from January to August. Possibly last month, we have 3,241 compared to 3,864 of the same period last year.
These are car accidents caused by drunk driving?
Yes. No, not drunk driving. Okay. Just those are the total number of accidents.
Okay.
And in this, this year we have got 85 so far. 85 accidents due to drunk driving. Okay?
85 out of 3,000.
Yes, it's over 3,000. But the problem is, when these accidents happen, you can be assured of no survivor. And last year, we had close to 191 in the same period. Since they began, one national police have arrested 1,179 drunk drivers, arrested and fined. So this is what was done while implementing the law on road safety. Now, you raise a very important question about what is this drunk driving and what amount of alcohol one should take in order not to get involved with the police during operations. We've had such a questions from many people on social media. But I think 2 points. One, we strongly advise individuals those who would like to drink, to see their physicians. Yes, because I think they are better placed to give them, I mean, what exactly constitutes, I mean, that content provided within the law, which for Rwanda is 0.08. That is the limit. Blood alcohol content. But when you read 0.08, but when you read, yes.
While you're on that,
Yes.
if you can just give us, like we talked about before the show, some comparisons with our East African neighbors, just to give some context
all
on the
right.
limit.
Now,
Yes.
different countries have got different limits. For example, some countries have got 0.02, others have got 0.05. For Rwanda, we've got 0.08. And some other countries in the region. But for Uganda, they have got 0.15. So for Rwanda, it is provided within the law that was enacted in 1987. It is 35 years old. So when you ask the question that why now? No, it is not now. The law has been in place for 32 years, right? Enforcement has been there, but maybe you have not been doing enough. Accidents have increased. Right? So that's why the national police have stepped up operations, okay, across the country. Kigali, border towns across the country, in other 4 provinces. So, but 0.08 has got the effect on the body, right? Let me give you an example. If you take a range of 0.01 to 0.05. What are the effects? The effects are as follows. Increase in heart and respiration rates, decrease in various brain center functions, inconsistent effects on behavioral task performance, decrease in judgment and inhibition, mild sense of elation, relaxation, and pleasure. That's the range between 0.01 to 0.05. Now, the range between 0.06 to 0.10, where our limit falls, which is 0.08.
Yes.
What are the effects? 1, physiological sedation of nearly all systems. People will just come here and discuss about these issues. These are serious issues. First of all, you just understand this effect on your body.
All systems.
Yes, all systems. Decrease the tension and alertness, slowed reaction, coordination and reduced muscle strength, reduced ability to make rational decision or exercise good judgment, increase in anxiety and depression, and decrease in patience. So that's why some of these effects, all of these effects are dangerous. That's why you ask, why do you, for example, when you get a drunk driver or someone driving under influence, why do you arrest him? We arrest him, we protect him. We arrest him to protect him, his life, and other road users. Okay?
I think
so
since
if you
we're
go
going scientific, since we are going scientific,
Yes.
let us appreciate that those are the possible causes. You know, like when you go and buy Panadol from a supermarket, they'll tell you that the possible side effects of you taking this is that your ears may swell. Your ears may not swell, same way they may swell.
Yeah.
So again, the good Afan raises a very alarming situation in the possible effects.
Yeah.
But I am sure, let's not, Diana, the point I was raising is let's not miss the point that those are possible effects.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for that. Can you just, what those your remarks?
Yeah,
Yes.
no, yes, I can go on. Yeah. For the countries which I mentioned have got between 0.10 to 0.15, the effects are dramatic slow of reactions, impairment of balance and movement, impairment of some visual functions, slurred speech, vomiting, especially if the blood alcohol content is reached rapidly.
So all this is using the breathalyzer?
Yes. These are the effects.
Yes, but
now,
how do
we do it?
Yes.
How do we do it?
Yeah, I think that's the blood alcohol content. Yes.
And the effect. Okay, depending on the limit, adopted by various countries in their specific laws, road safety laws. Now, how do we do it? First of all, I just want to clarify the issue and the question that people are asking themselves right after here. They're saying people are being detained for a number of days. People are being fined for a number of days. One, whatever one national police is doing it according to the laws, established laws. The duty of police officers on the road is to protect road users, including a driver driving under influence. That driver, in case he's caught, will be taken to a police station, registered. First of all, he'll first stay there for a night because we conduct operations throughout the night. The next day, officers will start investigations. The law gives the police the powers to detain any person suspected of wrongdoing for 5 days as we conduct investigations before he or she is referred to prosecution.
So
what happens?
What you're doing is you're basically using a hammer to kill a fly.
No, not a hammer.
Because if the person has the offense for which he has been arrested is driving under the influence of alcohol, you have kept him until that alcohol has gotten out of his body. But you take it upon yourselves to detain the person.
Upon the law.
No, you take it upon.
No, upon the law.
Well, at the end of the day, the person who is implementing the law is the police officer on duty.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So that police officer takes it upon himself to interpret the law
in accordance with the law.
And detain the person for 5 days without trial, without having recorded a statement.
No, investigation means quite a lot. There are quite a
So,
lot.
CP, just very quickly,
Yes,
Charles,
yes.
I want to find out, when you say investigation, what exactly, those 5 days, what's
investigation is
happening?
one.
Just briefly.
Yeah, briefly. We know the offender.
Yes.
Okay? The offender. Harbour charge. We shall interrogate you. What caused you? First of all, you shall tell us what yourself. Who are you? Is Charles Harbour? Where does he work? Where does he live? What caused you to break the law? Right? You know, the law has been there. The law is there. There are law enforcement officers. And what is this that causes you to break the law? In spite of several accidents and several deaths you see along our roads.
So you go visit
Right?
their workplace, you go visit their homes.
So
is this the
what do we
investigation?
do?
Yes.
That's the first step. Next will be to ask the employer if someone says I'm employed somewhere, or even including going to the families. So what is this that forces Charles Harbour to break the law? Could we be having a problem? We don't know. And for those who don't
Do you
find
actually do these things?
just wait. And for those who are not found with any problems, specifically those who are not involved in the accident, they are set free.
After 5 days.
Yes, after 5 days.
So these investigations actually take place? This
Yes,
is
they
what
take place because we arrested 120 people. Investigation will not be finished in 1 day, in 2 hours, in 3 days. It is across the country. So we don't have each police officer to every offend drunkard driver. Okay, we don't assign.
So you have given yourselves
Yes.
a job that you're not in a capacity to perform.
But we do, within the law. There is no one that is complaining. We are going up even after 5 days. Yes.
I'd like to take this discussion, but that Charles raises a good point about capacity. You know, if the jail cells are full, 120, 240, and they're there for 5 days, we need to also understand the capacity to actually try these people.
I think
I actually think the jail, our prison, our police cells are empty.
no,
That's why they need to find
have
people
charge.
to occupy them.
No.
Can, Fandi,
I think
if you can
we
allow...
you should not be taking this issue very lightly. This is a serious issue.
Yes, yes.
Here are some people who have got sentiments, who are discussing about issues that relate to the safety of the people, of themselves, and even other road users.
Yes.
And you say, why is it that I'm being detained for a specific number of days while the police is doing investigations? But it is according to the law. We are not breaking the law. We are a law enforcement agency. We are not breaking the law.
Absolutely. I don't think anyone is talking about breaking the law. I think what we also appreciate the importance of the subject for sure, but also we would like to be reassured that we have the capacity as Rwanda National Police.
Yeah, we do.
To
because
try these
we don't
numbers.
have complaints. We don't have complaints. I think much of the complaints you've been receiving, it's about the intensity and the scale of the crackdown. But not related to how many days.
Yes.
Maybe because maybe out of the police,
days.
you in civilian. I mean, you just go out there and you are very much scared. It's too tough. But I think we are doing it within the provisions of the law.
Yeah. We'll come back to that, Charles, and I really want to, because this conversation it's almost like it's happening on this side. We have a guest here who's representing the Rwanda Hospitality Association. So, CP, absolutely, this is a very, very paramount issue that we're having in this country. You mentioned the numbers. Actually, I want to get back to you on the numbers of deaths. Yeah. That's something we also want to hear from you. Accidents, but deaths. Yeah. But before we do that, Sarah, you're here representing businesses in the hotel industry, hospitality industry in Rwanda, and we know that this campaign, of course, has affected these businesses in the hospitality industry. The numbers have dropped and so forth and so on. So yours is it's a hard position because, of course, you're not really here to argue against what is being done. It has to be done, but we want a solution-oriented show whereby lives are protected, but we have a balance on how businesses are affected. So if you could just start by giving us a snapshot, what business owners saying, what is the reality?
Okay, thank you, Diana, thank you, Haber, and it's a pleasure meeting CP Kabera here. Thank you so much for inviting Rwanda Hospitality Association into this forum. First of all, like you said, I'm here in the capacity representing the Rwanda Hospitality Association, which brings together restaurants, bars, hotels, and just for you to know, we currently have about 800 hotels registered, and then we have about 1,400 restaurants and bars. And as you know, our country's economy, service plays a big part, and the restaurants and the bars and the hotels, then they're playing a big part in the service sector. And again, as you know, hospitality is diverse. It's about an ambience that you create around. I think from the restaurant perspective and the hotel perspective, is a better dining is attached to something that can stir up the mood, the alcohol and everything. Though, of course, as CP has indicated, of course, there are laws and regulations to that, and as Rwanda Hospitality Association, we really applaud that initiative of drunk driving crackdown, which we are really embracing that initiative. Of course, every one of us wants a safety country. We want safety of our citizens taken care of. We want also our repeat customers back into the bars and restaurants safe. We don't want just to have one customer overnight and then tomorrow we will not have him. But again, on the other side of it, of course, we look at the issue on both sides of the coin. That is on the positive side and the negative side, of course. Of course, on the positive, it's the safety of the citizen. That one, even when you look into other case studies in other countries, I think he has indicated to us other practices in different parts of the world. And in Germany, actually, it's even much tough. They hold accountable someone who's at 0.05, so which is even much lower than us. And though of course, where we are having it as a challenge as Rwanda Hospitality Association is the impact it has had so far. Now the consumers are a bit skeptical. If, let's say, this bar restaurant was selling 2 million over a weekend, I think maybe we will come back with the right figures, but at least when you speak to a couple of them, there has been a little bit of resistance in terms of consumers wanting to drink. They're a bit careful, which is a good indication. But again, on the business side, that revenue was coming into someone's business, who again pays the taxes and everything. So again, it affects the sales in a very big way. And it's not just the restaurants. We are also talking about the factories, those that produce the alcohol. We're talking about the stores that sell this alcohol. But again, the laws have to be enforced. But again, how is the enforcement done? it's good to hold accountable someone who's drinking and driving. Worldwide, it's standard. People have gotten accustomed to drinking, and you know that you'll have to have someone drive you home. Other countries, actually, the transportation system is very, very well aligned.
The public transportation system.
Exactly.
Yes.
So you have alternatives. You could go by train, you could go by bus, you could take a taxi, whatever that you can manage. But now our customers are asking, if I go out and I have a budget of, let's say, 5,000 francs, maybe that's, depending with the place that you've chosen to go out, is sufficient enough to enjoy and have a good evening, socialize with your friends, make business deals. So if now going home, that requires me to look for a taxi, that's another expense that I've not budgeted for. And you know very well, I think Rwanda is a bit expensive. Sometimes you have to be really budget oriented. And so this I think what most of the hotel owners and restaurants, they are maybe looking forward to a better discussion with the Rwanda National Police to discuss around the enforcement. Is it fair to hold someone for 5 days? There's one case that has been brought forward in the Rwanda Hospitality Association along the border of Congo, Rubavu, where one of the clients, who's of course a Congolese, of course they often prefer to come to Rwanda to enjoy, which is a great way of boosting our businesses.
Yes.
So this customer came and had his good drink, and on his way back across the border, he was caught.
Yes.
He was, of course, put into prison, as CP Kabera indicated,
Yes.
for 5 days, and he tried to lobby and see if he could be released.
Yes.
I think they released him after 2 or 3 days, but on his way back in his country, he lost his job. And along the discussion to hold him, he had indicated to the police that, okay, he's sorry and everything, and he has a flight to make, he has quick business things to follow up, but of course the rules are there. So these are cases that are coming to the association. How do we work around? You see people now losing their jobs because they've been put in prison for 5 days. So the discussion around the members is how can the National Rwanda Police, as far as we're embracing the enforcement of the law,
Yes.
but is it possible to maybe have it done in another way instead
Yes.
of holding someone for 5 days? Some of them, I mean, 5 days, for instance, a business person is a lot of days.
Yes, yes.
Maybe you have a business trip, or you have some tenders to submit. And I think, I don't know, maybe they will take us through why the 5 days. Why, and also he will also explain to us further about the investigation.
Yes.
Already you've held someone accountable. Yes, it's true he's at 0.08. So I think
above 0.08, because 0.08 you cannot.
Oh, that's the
be
cutoff. You,
Okay.
It's cut off.
You're good.
Yeah.
yeah, but again, the 5 days, we need to just understand what is the investigation. And then something else I would like to maybe point here, just for Rwanda National Police to know, we work very well with the National Rwanda Police, because at least for the safety of our businesses, it's taken care of. But again, we are wondering, if let's say the businesses, the sales are going down, and maybe the procedures as far as the protocols as far as going home is a challenge. I think maybe could they have rushed in implementing this law? Of course, the law has been there for 32 years. But again, why now, and why that immediate? So maybe I think we need a meeting where we can work around. It's good. We
Yes.
need a safety, but again, we need to work around the baby steps. We need to take baby steps.
I think before
me
we go
just,
to
yes.
before I go to a Twitter feed, yes, Charles.
Sarah has tickled my mind really around something I said earlier on that I want to emphasize. The Rwanda National Police has a track record of using a hammer to kill a fly. And I'll give examples. When I think we did have a Fande Kavera on the show here when we were talking about noise pollution
And entertainment.
and entertainment. Those days, these guys were tough. Just because they could confiscate equipment, they'd walk into bars and restaurants armed with automatic rifles, unplug the equipment, and carry them out. So point number 2, the 5 days, just because a 32-year-old draconian law gives them up to 5 years. they are exercising 5 days. They are exercising the maximum. Point number 3 that we haven't yet discussed here is this whole thing about loosely translated as being a public nuisance, Gusinda Muruhami. Just because, you know, the interpretation of that is very diverse. But just because it is written somewhere, I am told of policemen who go inside the bar to fish out dwellers.
Who are drunk?
No, who are drinking. Remember, the definition of drunk is subject to a few other implications. But that's the third point. You know, the over-excessiveness, I think, is the bigger issue here. And I'll go to the fourth one. You see, Afande Kabira gave us quite a number of possible effects of when you have taken alcohol. One, does it necessarily mean that you're unable to drive? And there are other ways that you can tell that somebody's sight or somebody's judgment or somebody's movement or all the other things that he mentioned, his sense of hearing, his sense of judgment. There are definitely very clever ways in which you can do this. And that is actually the biggest point, that in the implementation of these regulations, there is no rationality that is being applied. They are moving in one direction like an elephant. You know, it's very difficult for an elephant to make a 15-degree turn. It moves like this and it will go like that. That's the issue I have.
So,
Yes.
Afande, CP Kabira, you have a lot to answer. I can see you smiling. But I want us to just quickly go, because there's a lot of social media that I would like us to touch on. A couple of tweets. And so we'll just go to a social media feed and read a couple of tweets while we have time before we go to the second half of this conversation. The first tweet is from Alex. And Alex says, there's no doubt that drunk driving is strongly and positively correlated with road accidents. My question is on the effects of the crackdown. How significant shall it be in the reduction of the overall road accidents in relation to other causes of accidents on our roads?
Significantly reduce the number of deaths related to road safety accidents, because we don't see a lot of casualties, we just see deaths. For example, we had a drunk driver last month in Eastern Province, Nyagatare district, who killed five people in 2 minutes.
Pedestrians and as well?
2 people were on a bicycle, 3 people were just besides the road. 5 people in 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
We had a drunk driver in the previous 3 weeks, maybe 2 weeks ago, who killed 2 people around Munagri area in the morning, 5 a.m., 5:30.
2 people dead.
Dead. We have cases of a drunk driver who killed people at Peage. 2. Right? So, how about if we stop drunk driving, how is it going to affect the overall number of accidents? Now, Rwanda National Police,
with no doubt,
Rwanda National Police is conducting a campaign codenamed Jiraya Mahoro.
Yes.
We've engaged different road users, pedestrians, school children, drivers, motorists, cyclists, and pedestrians, everyone. This campaign is running now for 20 weeks. We're in the 20th week, right? One time we invited you actually to have a meeting with you. Some of you,
yes, they attended the meeting.
Yes, wanted to go. I mean, to share this, and there is a huge problem. And one of the challenges we face in Rwanda is behavioral change. Mindset change. Mindset change.
Let's quickly go to our tweets, our other tweets. Again, I want to get as much possible from our viewers. The next tweet is from Frank, and Frank's tweet says that breathalyzers do not directly measure blood alcohol content or concentration, which requires the analysis of a blood sample. Instead, they indirectly estimate blood alcohol content. Does the Rwanda National Police rely on breathalyzers to issue fines, suspend or cancel driver licenses and charge offenders? Can you quickly answer that before?
Yeah, that's one. We use breathalyzers. That's what we use. Yeah, that's what we use. And we can confiscate driving licenses, but this is done with the prosecution and the courts. Yeah.
Our next tweet is from a very interesting name here in French. And this person says that the BAC level is actually 0.08, one of the highest because some countries have 0.02. This is what we were saying earlier on.
Yeah.
The ongoing crackdown operations were long overdue. No life should be put in danger because of alcohol. Drunk driving crashes are preventable.
Yeah.
So, yeah, of course, we are definitely going to get back to some
there's
other...
a big mistake we're making here. You see, the court of public opinion can be very harsh. We are also continuing to refer to people who fail breathalyzer tests
as drunk.
But
they're above the limit.
That is not the case. They may be driving under the influence, but they are not drunk. And you should even see when they write you that contravention, it reads in the most terrible way you can ever imagine. It's ubusinzi. You're condemned
You're incapacitated.
as a drunkard.
Yes.
And that is where exactly the problem is. That the 5,000 francs that Sarah was talking about, that can get you one mutzing class. Low alcohol content, take 2 bottles after that, you're a very fat guy, muscular, you're good. And you still...
And you fail a breathalyzer test.
And you fail a breathalyzer test. Just
and it poses danger to your life and the life of other road users.
You cannot do that because you're assuming that all those effects are going to get to this guy who has just taken 1 glass of beer.
No, there are standards, Charles. There are standards. There are standards that must be respected.
You know, I'm going to take you back. I want to take you guys
very quickly,
back.
Charles. Just last tweet.
Let me tell you.
I want to take you to the story of the decibels. It's a perfect example to give. Hotel de Mille Collines. We used to always get into trouble with police because of noise pollution. So they installed their own decibel meter to measure sound. And one time, they switched off the music. But the conversations amongst the people
hit the decibel level.
Surpassed the decibel level. Where am I going with this conversation? That the units of measurement may not necessarily tell you what you want to know.
Very quickly on that.
So what do you want?
I want us, our last tweet before we go to the second half of the conversation. And this tweet is from Romeo. And it echoes what you're saying, Charles, regarding, this units of alcohol and measurement. To me, the 0.08 limits are almost for those who have not taken the least. A 33 CL is 5% of alcohol. Basically, sipping on a single bottle from even a party and not a bar qualifies one to be drunk. So I think what we're discussing here, respectfully, CP, and also to you, Sarah and Charles, is the implementation of this. It is very necessary, it's very needed, but we need an element of context. In terms of arresting this person, putting them in jail for 5 days, we also need to understand...
The context is, if you are driving under influence, all right, beyond the acceptable blood alcohol content provided by the Rwandan law, police will hold you accountable.
Sure.
That's it.
That's it. Sure.
If you are driving under influence, let's put it this way. It's driving under influence. That is the offense. So if you say about drunkenness, or what, it's driving under influence. The conditions we've been stating here, okay, is what is the result and the effect. So you are driving under influence of alcohol or any other drug, right?
Sure.
So let's call it driving under influence. And the point is, if the country enacted the law, much as I have said, and the law enforcement agency is trying to enforce the law by saving lives, I think we shall not be deterred by the court of public opinion, as Charles was saying.
As Charles said.
I want to give you... Our police is known for being smart, and one of the things that has helped the police do its job very well is community policing. Now, where everybody is every other's keeper. Now, in the event that the public begins to look at the police as not being friendly to it, please prepare yourselves for a hostile reaction from the police. But I want to give my other point around assessing situations. And I'll give you my personal example. Last Christmas, I was driving out of town with my family and going up this hill somewhere between Gachenye and Musanze on a line where I'm not allowed to overtake. But the truck in front of me was moving extremely slowly. It was early, it was about 3 p.m. So I peep out like this, I do my lights, and then the driver puts on his indicator and pulls out his hand and tells me to overtake. Actually, I have young children, so I don't drive fast. I overtook, and there was a policeman in front of me. He waved me down. And he asked me, you can see you're not allowed to overtake where you overtook from. I told him, look at me. I'm here with my young children. You can see the lorry driver's indicator is still on. He has given me the right to overtake.
Yeah, right of way.
Yeah, the right of way. He understood and he let me go. If he wanted to apply the rules as they are written in the 32-year-old laws that are
32 or 35?
Yes,
32 years ago.
I think they're older than some people on the panel, those laws. If he wanted to apply them strict to the letter, I would have gotten a ticket.
Yeah,
and that's exactly my point, that we should not, the law does not exist in a vacuum. That's one of the principles of law.
And they're human beings who implement
the law.
Yes, they're
human beings who implement this law, Afande. Let's not hide behind the law and, again, at the risk of repeating myself,
I think on behalf of Rwanda Hospitality Association,
Yes,
maybe Afande Kabera will enable us to understand better. We are 100% agreeing with the law against cracking down of drunk driving. That one, we're not debating on it. But what we are asking, and we are asking you to maybe see if there's space to discuss around
This is why
the enforcement.
we should arrest a road breaker or someone driving uninfluenced misses his flight because he chose to. Yes. Someone knew he was traveling tomorrow, was going to airport, he had his ticket, then he goes to the bar and drinks. In the morning, he was caught by the police on his way to airport. So do you think police will say, please, okay, go to the airport?
Sir, if I could comment a little bit. Some of the developed countries, these laws have been enforced. But how they're done is a bit smart, and it actually ends up educating the audience, the consumers. For example, in the United States, there's that awarding of points, which I think from the conversation we had, let me finish. You mentioned that you're also going to introduce that, which makes a lot of sense. At least if a driver is caught drinking when they are drunk, reduce the points, and slowly you will confiscate his driving permit. But why would you imprison this person for 5 days? That is where the Rwanda Hospitality Association is requesting to work around that law.
Very quickly. I feel like I totally, have welcomed all your points, but let's not focus too much on the detail of the 5 days or not. Right now, because the Square is a solution-oriented show, my question to you all, including you, Charles, right? This is something to do with mindset change. It's very difficult. You're used to a certain way of life, you're used to a certain way of things happening, and all of a sudden there's this seemingly draconian policy or directive that's being implemented. But at the end of the day, in a couple of years, I really want Rwanda to be a country whereby, road accidents are mitigated, people have fun, but there are innovative ways in which you can deal with this. And my question is to you, what innovative methods can be brought about? Because I also feel this is an opportunity for the private sector to rise to the occasion and actually work around the situation. Is there a possibility, and I really want to hear from you, of having proprietors of these places, of these bars, of these restaurants, include a sort of package? We're going to give you a sort of carpool or taxify pool home at the end of the day, leave your car at home, and they charge for it as a service. These are certain things that we can, I think the private sector can.
Sure. Thank you, Diana, for that.
What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, actually, it's a very good question. At the end of the day, these are rules and regulations. The laws have to be enforced. But of course, I'm sure Afande Kabera will do his homework very well as far as that tough enforcement. Otherwise, as far as private sector, again, we look at it on the other side of the coin. This is an opportunity to think creatively. Some of the restaurants have thought creatively, and what they're doing right now is when they see a customer is drunk, they have the bouncers, they have the young boys who are good at driving, and they're able to offer that service for free. All the customer has to do is give the car keys, and once the customer is dropped at their house, then the customer will be able to give at least some transport fee for the person who's driven them home. However, of course, they're stubborn clients. There are cases where some of them are dropped like that, and then the wife is all about happy that at least the husband is back home safe. But again, after some minutes, the husband drives off again and goes back to, to the bar. So I think there's more of awareness that needs to be done. But again, also another initiative that the Rwanda Hospitality Association is thinking around is to also work around with the taxis that are affordable, so that at least when the waiters see someone who's drunk, they're able to advise to call a cab for them. But of course, there's still a little bit resistance. As you know, most people have nice cars that they're not willing to just give someone to drive them. But again, at the end of the day, it's safety for everyone. So we're working around other creative ways, but of course the challenge lies behind the costs tagged around. But again, we need to maybe do a campaign around emphasizing that if you go out and you're drinking, just have the simple manners of having one of you among you to take up the driving part, and that way you will have a safer country.
It's really about a mindset change.
Exactly.
I think there's a bit, you know, Rwanda, we've done a lot of self-regulation in different sectors. You look at the motorbike guys, they were a headache for all over, I believe, even for the police for a long time, and their auto-regulation helped them quite a lot. Medical sector and a few others. Look at the tobacco sector, you know, today you will never find a cigarette-branded car at a school, for example. You know, all this auto-regulation has helped a lot. And I believe, Sarah, you in your association, it's something that you should really do. Do not allow uniformed policemen to come inside and pick out a reveller. You need that customer to come back and spend more money tomorrow. So innovations like those of dropping them, you've been out there, you go to the gents to ease yourself, and all the adverts are sponsored by Uber, for example. So innovations like that. But even in terms of not allowing your customers to overindulge, the guys, you know, sometimes you go to clubs and you see somebody sleeping on the table. It's not a very good scene, you know. Behavior change, the young, especially the youth, who come in and overindulge, and we end up losing them through the ills of life. I think that's where the corporate social responsibility of your members at the association needs to come in very pronounced. We need to be friends with Afande Kabera and his crew. We need to look at them very nicely as good people. They mean well.
They do.
Yes. So please help them make their work easier. Yes.
Before we go to our Twitter feed, though, actually, let's just quickly go to our Twitter feed and close our social media comments before we conclude. The last tweet for today is actually commending the Rwanda National Police, and this person says that life matters. This life matters. It comes first. This road safety measures, including the tough punishment against drunk driving. This is very clear in decreasing the fatal accidents and road users' behavior. Rwanda Police, big up for these operations targeting drunk drivers. I think that's what he meant to say. So, CP, thank you for joining us. It's been an interesting conversation. It's not an easy one. But would you like just very quickly to comment?
A few things, yes. One.
Yes.
Behavioral change. We need a sustainable campaign, which Rwanda National Police have started with stakeholders, with the driving schools, with the bus transport company owners, with everybody, insurance companies. We are conducting a sustainable campaign, trying to help people change their mindset. We educate children. We think there will be better road users in the future. We educate pedestrians. We are going to schools and universities. We are educating motorists. We are planning for a kind of training for motorists and drivers. We think they are going to change behavior. But above all is to have a very good legislation, which is now being revised, that will include penalty points for every traffic offense, that will include administrative offenses and criminal offenses, right?
Can you just quickly elaborate the point system? The point system?
Yes. Well, the law is still a draft. It hasn't been passed, but the penalty system, we are going to have 15 points. And each traffic offense will carry specific points in terms of reducing how many points you have until the end of the points. Then you will be, your driving license will be withheld by the police.
For a certain time?
For a certain period of time. So if that law comes out, I think it will be comprehensive to address some of those concerns. But again, it will be a little bit more stringent than the existing one.
So Charles, are you hearing this? The point system is going to be stringent, then what you're already saying is a bit too stringent at the moment.
But you're saying it has been the US. How is the
the US is definitely worse.
Yeah?
In the US and in certain states, it's actually even more tough.
Have you been to
here.
Japan? It is.
I know.
Yes, it's criminal.
In Dubai, you can be imprisoned for up to 6 months. But the other thing about some of those setups is that, one, people know that they do not drink and drive, so they will not drink and drive. But two, also when you're arrested, back to my point, the smartness. I was involved in an accident in Chicago. Luckily, all of us got out well. When the lady police officer came, she just asked, "Are you guys fine? Is everything okay?" Now, just by a conversation with somebody, you can tell how coherent they are and how all that long list of Afande Kabera's effects is not applicable. And you don't have to breathalyze them. But for us here, the breathalyzer is like a badge. You know, those days I used to say, it's like the breathalyzer is a badge. As soon as they see you, they point at you, a breathalyzer. So I think, and let me combine this with my conclusive remarks, Diana. For sure, lives are lost. From the figures you gave us, 24% of accidents caused by drunken driving is very, very high. The number of deaths, again, is extremely alarming. Even if it was half of that or a quarter of that, any life lost matters. And we will not say that you reduce the alcohol content, but we're just saying works matter in whatever you're doing.
Sarah, closing remarks very quickly.
Yeah, thank you so much, Diana, and the team of The Square and Afande Kabera. Well, as the Rwanda Hospitality Association, we really are applauding the National Police for this initiative of cracking down drunk driving, which, of course, as hotel owners and restaurants, we're not advocating for really drunk driving. All we are just requesting is the enforcement. How is it done? How harsh is it? Okay, it's, of course, rules and regulations sometimes are really never quickly embraced. But again, that part of imprisoning someone, at least in cases like Germany, USA, and I think Japan, maybe, I don't know, but at least they will imprison you when you've been involved in an accident, when lives are lost, then you're imprisoned. But in this case of Rwanda, of course, alcohol, even religiously, is not a good thing. But again, the culture, if you look back, our history, and even our traditional way of doing things, alcohol is welcomed. But how can the National Police at least work around the enforcement? I think the smart way, like Haba has put it, would be the best way to crack down this drunk driving. But again, also, the businesses on the other side, they don't need to be affected instantly. We're talking about a country that we are welcoming visitors. We are welcoming the young people to join the service industry.
Chogam is coming.
Chogam is coming. So we're not advocating for drunk driving. We will keep becoming creative. I think Haba has given us very good ideas of advertising in those latrines and everything. That maybe even have T-shirts with our waiters. If you're drunk, please call a cab or just call for assistance.
Basically, it's yes.
Yeah, so I think it's a process that just doesn't happen overnight. But again, Afande Kabera, I think, and the team, the enforcement is a bit harsh.
Yes.
And as RHA is where we need you to work around at least smarter ways that at the end of the day, the citizens will listen. But again, when it's tough, they might listen, but again, maybe they'll find other alternatives, ways of doing things.
Which is not helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We've come to the end of the show. Charles, always a pleasure to have you as resident panelist. Fande, second time on the show. I'm sure you'll be here for part 3. Part 3, we really want to even look at the engagement between RNP and these stakeholders. I'm sure it's there. You told me you had a meeting with RDB.
Yes.
You told me you had a meeting with RHA. So I know there's engagement.
And the bar owners.
And bar owners.
Yes.
Definitely, I'm happy to hear the engagement process and the consultation process. Sarah, thank you for joining.
Thank you so much.
Show. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yes, it was good. I think next time invite more private sector people so that the debate is more balanced, maybe the legal perspective also to come on board.
Absolutely.
I think that would make the discussions balanced.
Thank you very much. To our viewers, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for tuning in and sharing your ideas on our social media platform. Keep the conversation going using hashtag #TheSquareRW. From me, have a good night, and thanking our partners, Bob and Coffee. See you again next week. Bye.